Y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is well. Got a story I want to share with you. It is tied to the no buy no sell system that is coming online, and more you're seeing in these other countries where their currencies are being either greatly diminished or outlawed, or accessibility to getting it out of these financial institutions is being impeded. So I want to talk to you about it. This story is coming from Cuba, and it's not that far away from Florida. So I'm talking about it because I want y'all to see what's coming. And, make no mistake, like I've been telling y'all, if you want to have control of currency, right now it's best to buy gold or silver. I recommend silver because it's cheaper, but also having tangible goods because the Civil War is being set up, and it's not going to make any sense to have money if you don't have food and you don't have things to help you survive, and things in multiple places. In the event stuff is confiscated, you have to flee where you are to a different bug out location. If you're in the city and you need to move to a rural place, there are a lot of moving parts to this, but y'all really need to, pay attention to what's happening, because things are getting a little dicey right now. So this is from Havana. It's on the Associated Press. This story came out on April 27th, and there's a follow-up story in later that came out this month. So Alejandro Fonseca stood in line for several hours outside a bank in Havana, hoping to withdraw Cuban pesos from an ATM. But when it was his turn, the cash ran out. He angrily hopped on his electric tricycle and traveled several kilometers to another branch where he finally managed to withdraw some money after wasting the entire morning. He said, it shouldn't be so difficult to get the money you earn by working. And this is quoted, quotation. So, quote, it shouldn't be so difficult to get the money you earn by working, end quote. The 23-year-old Fonseca told the Associated Press in a recent interview. Fonseca is one of an increasing number of frustrated Cubans who have to grapple with yet another hurdle while navigating the island's already complicated monetary system, a shortage of cash. Long lines outside of ATMs and banks in the capital, Havana, and beyond started forming early in the days as people seek cash for routine transactions like buying food and other essentials. So pay attention. When this stuff starts happening, it's going to happen suddenly, which is why I tell you to make sure you keep cash on you at all times. Do not rely on these debit cards. Do not rely on being able to go to the bank or getting cash back, because it's just going to be a challenge. And if you don't use technology, I don't know how old people are going to navigate this system, because everything is going digital, and that's the reason for the shortage of cash. Plus, they just don't have enough money. Like, the global um, system is switching over. We're in the middle of a global order transition, and dollars and fiat currency will be going away, will be less valuable, and it will, eventually become worthless like toilet paper. So whoever got food and hygiene products and all the things that you can barter with will be king, and people who have nothing will be out looting and trying to take from others. So you got to prepare. So experts say there are several reasons behind the shortage, all somehow related to Cuba's deep economic crisis, one of the worst in decades. So, because we have this global economy, everybody's economy is going to have some issues. But, this has been decades in the making. So, if you're here and you're awakened, none of this is a surprise. We've been talking about this for quite some time. It's just going to impact poorer places before it hits the more wealthier nations. But our time is coming, and just like it talks about in the Bible, uh, the time is coming where you're not going to be able to buy or sell if you don't have that mark, or if you don't agree to worship the way that the beast wants you to worship, or worship the beast. We don't know what that worship is going to be like, but is coming quickly. We see all the signs. Experts say there are several reasons behind the shortage. We already know that's some BS. Omar Everleni Perez, a Cuban economist and university professor, says the main culprits are the government's growing fiscal deficit, the non-existence of banknotes. So check this out now. With a denomination greater than 1,000 Cuban pesos, which is about $3 in the parallel market. So they don't even have banknotes, which total $3, enough for their already poor population. Those are not in circulation. So where are they? Where is this economic crisis coming from? So everybody has their hand in the pot, stirring it. Everybody's in on it. Okay. All right. So it says there is money, yes, but not in the banks, said Perez, adding that most of the money is being held not by salary workers, but by entrepreneurs and owners of small and mid-sized business who are more likely to collect cash from commercial transactions but are reluctant to return the money to the banks. So it says this, Perez says, is either because they don't trust the local banks or simply because they need the Cuban pesos to convert into foreign currency. So a lot of stuff is happening, and this is the same thing that's going to happen with us, except for our money is going to be worth trash. Nobody's going to want it. It's going to be worth nothing. And they're going to switch over to the digital currency. So this is why I suggest if you have fiat currency, use that currency while it still has value to purchase gold, silver, jewelry, things of things of value that are tangible that people can use. And you look around your community and see what people will need when times are hard. If you live close to a lake, buy fishing rods, buy fishing line, fishing hooks, weights. If you live in a place where people got a lot of children, invest in clothes, underwear, socks, coats, things that you can get on sale, things that you can get from thrift stores. Put those things away so that you can barter and trade when money is worthless and you don't have any, especially if you're poor. If you are of lower wealth, I hate to call people poor, but if you are of lower wealth and you don't have much, then the best thing for you to do is focus on having tangible goods to sustain yourself and try to get a few little things in order in your home that you can barter that people may need, that you can trade in the event that things are going to go south. But you got to do something. Just sitting here acting like nothing going to happen and you keep watching TV and playing Candy Crush Saga, you just eventually everything is going to collapse around you, and then you're going to be caught off guard, unaware, and nobody's going to give a crap because this stuff has been going on for years and people have been warning, been called conspiracy theorists, and now the bottom is about to fall out and nobody's prepared. So it says most entrepreneurs and small business owners in Cuba have to import almost everything they sell or pay in foreign currency for supplies needed to run their businesses. As a consequence, many end up hoarding Cuban pesos to later change it to foreign currency on the informal market. Converting those Cuban pesos to other currencies poses yet another challenge, as there are several highly fluctuating exchange rates in the island. For example, the official rate used by government industries and agencies is 24 pesos to the US dollar, while for the individual, the rate is 120 pesos to the dollar. However, the dollar can fetch up to 350 Cuban pesos on the informal market. Perez notes that in 2018, 50% of the cash in circulation was in the hands of the Cuban population and the other half in the banks on the Caribbean island. But in 2022, the latest year for which the information is available, 70% of cash was in the wallets of individuals. So that means people are not putting their money in the banks. People don't trust the banks. And so, poor people, they know something is up and they're not giving their money over to banks only to be, you know, poo-pooed on later. And same thing is happening here. People are removing their money from the banks, and a lot of people are sitting on cash, or they have removed their money from the American banking systems and place their money someplace else or in other things, in real estate in other countries. They've parked it someplace else because in something that will eventually recover and retain value, or recover in value. You won't lose it because the banks take it with the bail-in, or it's just ignored because it becomes something digital. Um, it's just, it's gonna get crazy, y'all. It's already happening. So it says Cuban monetary authorities did not immediately respond to the AP's email request for comment. The shortage of cash comes as Cubans grapple with a complex monetary system in which several currencies circulate, including a virtual currency, MLC, which was created in 2019. And then in 2023, the government announced several measures aimed at promoting a cashless society, making the use of credit cards mandatory to pay for some transactions, including food, fuel, and other basic goods. So notice they make you use credit cards for basic goods. So your mere survival is going to be, predicated on you using cards and eventually QR codes or digital wallets. And it's going on now. This was like last year. But many businesses simply refuse to accept them. Making things worse is stubbornly high inflation, meaning more and more physical bills are needed to buy products. So, as you can see, people are pushing back. People are not really wanting to use the cards because people aren't really understanding what's coming. This mark of the beast system, no buy no sell, is tied to this digitalization of everything. And so people are refusing. The system cannot work if we refuse to use it. Now the problem is, how long can folks hold out? Because the powers that be control everything. So, if you're not self sufficient, the more self sufficient you are, the less painful or less discomfort you will experience. So, if you're growing your own food, if you put back stuff and you have some things to hold on to, to sustain you until, um, if you got seeds and your food is growing or you can forage or whatever, um, that's going to be fine. Those people will be okay. People who live in rural settings and know how to survive, although today's people, they don't know how to do much of nothing. Those people will fare better. People who live in communities where they can barter, people grow food and animals and, have their own stuff, as long as the government doesn't come and confiscate it. That's the other thing that we all have to worry about. But you will be able to withstand some stuff for a spell. And the fact that FEMA is only recommending that people have 2 weeks worth of food, after the 2 weeks of food, what happens when you run out? Folks gonna be out stealing, looting. They're gonna forage any way they can. They're gonna come in your house and try to take your stuff. Um, it's going to be rough, and that's what they want everywhere, all over the globe, so they can introduce this digital currency and everybody's going to be happy with the universal basic income and just having food for your children and um, lights and just things that people have become comfortable with. Because people love comfort, they will do anything to get back to being comfortable. Just look at what happened during the pandemic, and folks wanted to be outside, so they're willing to get shots and use digital IDs, vaccination cards to show that they have been vaccinated in order to go out and eat dinner. Like they couldn't eat at home, like just stupid stuff. So people will do anything to be entertained, to be served, and to just be outside and have fun. And it's a sad state of affairs, but it just goes to show you that more people will go into this no buy, no sell system than not because people like comfort. So it says the average Cuban, the official figures barely reflect the reality for their lives. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even read that part. According to official figures, inflation stood at 77% in 2021, then dropped to 31% in 2023. But for the average Cuban, the official figures barely reflect the reality of their lives since market inflation can reach up to three digits on the informal market. For example, a carton of eggs, which sold for 300 Cuban pesos in 2019, these days sell for 3,100 pesos. So just imagine if you got to spend that much money for a dozen of eggs. And I think it said like 120 pesos was like $3 in one of these. Let me see what it said. So 120 pesos is $1. So if you do, and I'm trying to do some math, so excuse me, 3,100 divided by 120, that's like $25 for a dozen of eggs. Can y'all imagine? But if you had a chicken, you wouldn't have to worry about it because you could have eggs at your house. You just need one or two chickens. So there's a benefit to being somewhat self-sufficient. And most times people just are lazy. They don't want to do the work, but it's definitely going to be worth it in the long run. So just make sure you are trying to become self-sufficient as possible and really thinking about, when you hear these stories, how is that going to be, you know, what will that be like here? Because it's coming here. These are like data points. Just use it as a data point. So 300 pesos in 2019, and now the eggs sell for 3,100 pesos, which is the equivalent of about $25. The monthly salary for Cuban state workers range from 5,000 to 7,000 Cuban pesos, between $14 and $20 in the parallel market. That's terrible. So to live in it, and so that's basically like a universal basic income. So it says to live in an economy like that, in addition to having several currencies, has several exchange rates and three-digit inflation is quite complicated, said Pavel Vidal, a Cuba expert and professor at Columbia's Javeriana University of Cali. So that was one story, and then I want to share with you this other story about. Hey, what happened to my story? Okay, there it is. So it says Cubans wary of banks as government cracks down on cash. So this story is from 2023. The other story that I read is more recent. So it says accustomed to lugging around thick wads of cash, Cubans are skeptical of government efforts to force them to deposit their money into a crumbling bank system in an effort to curb runaway inflation and boost liquidity. So the communist country is experiencing its worst economic crisis in decades, with double-digit inflation and rampant money printing in recent years, boosting the amount of cash on the street. Same thing that's happening here in America. So now, recall the story that I just read because that's the most recent story, but this story is the story that led up to what's happening now. So long wary of the country's poorly functioning banks, Cubans have in recent months embraced even more to avoid long lines and withdrawal limits at ATMs. So it says the government seeking liquidity, transparency, and greater control over monetary flow last week announced restrictions on cash payments to force businesses and citizens to use electronic payments. Cash transactions will be limited to 5,000 pesos, which is about $20 on the black market, under the reform, which is to be gradually implemented over the next 6 months. So you see where Cuba has already moved into the beast system, where they, want you to use the digital currency to buy and sell, and they're punishing the people for refusing. So it says, in the times we are living in, 5,000 pesos is nothing, said a mechanical engineer, Lysandra Pupo, 30, who, like most Cubans, prefers to have her cash safely in hand. People who got good common sense understand what time it is. Um, and see, this lady is a mechanical engineer, and she's earning 5,000 to 7,000 pesos. And I don't know if you all know that Cuba is one of the most educated populations on the planet, but they don't make any money because they live in a communist nation, which is basically a socialist nation, a welfare state. Everybody makes the same thing. The government controls everything, and they take care of everything, or they pretend to, but you don't really have enough to get up. You just have the basics. And that's what those systems have been around for a long time. And now the whole world is getting ready to go to this system. So it says soaring prices and the loss of value of banknotes mean people on the island have to cram cash into a bag or backpack to pay even for minor purchases. That's coming here too. So it says if I had a lot of money, I would not put it in the bank because if I need it tomorrow and I go to the bank, they will not be able to give it to me. So I will have to wait 3 days or until the bank has enough money, said Pupo. Independent economist Omar Everlini Perez said that with such high prices and the inexistence of high denomination banknotes, the push toward banking is essential. Outdated banking tech. So it says, however, Cuba's outdated banking system risks leaving users with no way of accessing their money at all. The internet is unreliable and many people don't have smartphones for contactless payments, said Central Bank President Joaquin Alonso on Monday, admitted there were few terminals for card payments. To install point of sale terminals, a communication line is required. Now imagine how much investment we would need to put terminals in all points of sale, Alonso said. This demands a lot of us, but we are not saying we won't move forward. So here, they were talking about digitalization, and people just didn't really get it. Today, there is a significant level of cash that is outside of the banking system. The money does not circulate through the logical paths of the economy and is only traded between people, Alonso said. That's how it's supposed to be. The government wants to know everything, they want to control everything. And that's why they need to know. That's why they need you to put your money in the bank. That's why they want you to use your digital card so they can tell you, they'll know where your money is going. And then they'll also know how to um, conquer the supply chains. So they'll know if you're taking your money and buying the basic goods, then we'll run all the mom and pops out of business, and then you'll just have to come to the places that we allow to be open because they're on our team. They're globalists. So this is what's happening. It's also happening here in America. So it says today there is a significant level. Oh, sorry, I already read that. So it said the mass of freely circulating cash was incentivizing the inflationary spiral, and it's a complex economic crisis. So it says the island nation's current economic crisis is multi-pronged and comes with a backdrop of decades of U.S. sanctions, inefficiency, lack of foreign investment, and heavy reliance on imports. Former U.S. President Donald Trump toughened sanctions against Cuba, and then the COVID pandemic battered the tourism industry, the government's main source of foreign exchange, which has battled to recover. In 2021, a monetary reform phasing out a convertible peso pegged to the dollar led to the regular peso's value to plummet. So they are tinkering with the different economies around the globe to make it so that they all fail. Like you're going to be forced into this new system. But this is why it's very essential for you to prepare with non-perishable goods. Put away things so that when times are tough, you'll have a fallback. This is why it's necessary to ration to yourself, to eat less, to change how you live, to become healthier, to put away vices. Pray and fast more, because when you're fasting, hey, you don't need that much to eat. Uh, it's time to make the adjustments and begin mentally preparing yourself and physically, because what's happening there and other places around the world is coming here. So it says there are endless queues for food, fuel, and medicine, prompting an exodus of Cubans seeking to flee the island. And that's what's going to happen here. People who have someplace else to go will go to those other places. But us as African Americans, we don't have any other place to go, so we're going to be stuck. And we don't have stores, we don't have a supply chain, we don't make anything. We're just consumers, so we are really going to be hurt. Year-on-year inflation reached 45.8% in May, while in 2022 it was 39%, according to official figures. But analysts believe it has already reached triple digits. Small businesses in Cuba, given legal status for the first time in 2021, in a country where state-run stores were long the option, also dread the switch to electronic transactions. Private business consultant O'Neill Diaz wrote on his Facebook account that these businesses lose their ability to import in an environment of scarcity and inflation. So, as you can see, things are happening all over the globe. This was in 2023. Now, the other story is recent. It's like last month, April 2024. This is coming to America. And so I'm reading these stories to you and sharing them with you so that you can be prepared for what is to come. And they're telling you to just have 2 weeks worth of food and stuff. You better not listen to them. You better get more. You better prepare. You better buckle down and figure your life out. Figure out which ways you're going to be discomfortable, uncomfortable. Figure out this season of discomfort. Figure out where and how you will be able to sustain yourself if this type of thing comes to America, to your area. It's coming. It's already here. Eggs are already gone up. Meat is so expensive. Even white people, honey, looking at the meat and walking by it. So times are hard. Um, is Everything is expensive. Cleaning products, things you would think that shouldn't be expensive, are expensive. Things that are cheap are things that you don't need, like wine. Like, why is wine on sale? We don't need wine. It's not a basic need. So anyway, keep prepping, keep praying, keep seeking the Most High. Obey those laws, statutes, and commandments, because we are living in a time and a season. This is like the calm before the storm. Um, we have a very short window to prepare. I look at our people and they just don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. And they're going to be looking at you stupid when, things start happening. But I've come to the realization that it's not my responsibility to take care of the ignorant. And if the ignorant perish, then so be it. But we've tried to warn. People have options. People have choices of what they, prefer to consume mentally. And they have chosen the things that do not matter, things that are not of substance, and things that are of this world, and they will pay for that. It's not my place to judge them. I just feel sorry for them. So I'm doing my part to try to get people to, um, you know, wake up and prep. But in the meantime, keep doing what you're doing. Continue to prep, continue to pray, continue to seek the Most High. Obey those laws, statutes, and commandments. Learn how to live like the Israelites lived. Learn how to live in the ways that the Most High wanted us to live. And I just hope that everybody is doing the best that they can and the most that they can to get in order. Get your houses in order, family. Get your houses in order. All right, this is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.